everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dungeon Masters Guild Design Dash. I see lots of friends in chat already. Let us know how we're doing, how we're sounding this week. If this is your first time tuning into the Design Dash, put your seatbelt on, get ready for a wild ride, because this is one crazy game show. It's basically Great British Baking Show, Project Runway, Iron Chef meets D&D design. Our lovely contestants, who are all down there, are going to get 15 minutes to answer a design challenge in the Design Dash arena. But before we get to that, I am one of your hosts, Lysa Penrose. I am brand manager at Dungeon Masters Guild, which is your go-to marketplace for all sorts of D&D adventures and supplements. You can even publish some of your own. And my lovely co-host is Matt over there.
Hey everybody, I'm the Director of Business Development for DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG and a whole suite of sites. I've worked with Lysa for a while now, and we're going to have a lot of fun here.
Yeah, Matt, you've been traveling all over, going to cons and stuff. How are you doing?
Yeah, I've had 5 already this year.
Calm down, Matt.
Yeah, so it's been awesome.
Okay, but I don't even know if even that travel holds up to the wild ride that is Design Dash. So let's meet our contestants who are down there. First, we have our returning champion. You all voted him back last episode, and that is Willy. Willy,
that's good.
Yeah, tell us about yourself. For folks who are new, who are you? How might they know you?
I am a total joke of a poster. I'm usually shit posting online, pardon my French, but for the most part, I'm putting stuff out on the DM's Guild and making really, really weird things kind of functional. So.
Yeah, I like your spider people, the Tulas, although I don't love the name. That's my middle name for some folks.
You can call them Toolies if you'd like.
Toolies, yes, variant rule.
There you go.
And so, Willy, you have been in the Dash arena before. So do you have any advice for our 2 completely new contestants?
All right, so get ready for this. Don't get hung up on any one detail. If it doesn't make any sense, just keep going. The second draft will be a lot easier. I'm saying second draft. You're not going to get much of a second draft, but you'll be able to go back and revise things. Don't worry about it.
The last 2 seconds, way easier.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the lovely Makenzie. Makenzie, hi, welcome.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Oh my god. But I'm Makenzie Lane D on Twitter, and also Makenzie Lane D in Twitch chat. You might have seen me around, puttering around on Twitter. I do a lot of stuff with the Scraticus Academy. I also I have published a couple of featured encounters of the week over on D&D Beyond. Most recently, I've published Numomancy on DM's Guild, which is a found family love-based wizard subclass. It's also got a bunch of cool feats that you can take even if you're not a wizard. And it has some art that I made that features people I love. I'm so excited.
Oh, so Makenzie, what would you say? You mentioned a bunch of your previous titles, so you are certainly not new to D&D design. What of your style do you think people will see today in the arena?
Well, the style and first drafts are very different things.
Oh.
You're gonna get the very unfiltered version of my first drafts when I'm drafting encounters, which, God bless James Hakeover at D&D Beyond for helping me fix them for the ones on the week, because I swear most of the encounters first draft for those ones have just been snack vines or send in the crabs. That's what's
send
gonna
in
happen.
the crabs.
We're gonna send in the crabs. If you expect anything sensible or serious, it's probably not gonna happen. It'll get there in draft 2 or 3, which aren't gonna happen in 15 minutes. But it's a possibility.
Now, a reminder to the folks in chat, or an FYI for our new folks, that while everyone's designing, we come up with a rubric that at the end of the day does not matter, but it's fun. Could crabs be on the rubric? Snack vines? Could they be on there? I don't know. It's up to chat. But last, certainly not least, is Anthony. Anthony, who are you?
Hey everybody, I'm Anthony Joyce. I do stuff on the DM's Guild. You might know me from the Vorkus series for Adventures League, or the Blood Hunter that just came out. I've done Weekend at Strides. with Oliver Clegg and Justice Armin. I've done Baldur's Gate, Fall of Elturel, and some other things. So I'm happy to be here. My full-time job where I'm at now, I'm a Army strategist, and I'm working on Capitol Hill right now. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. I've heard so much buzz about your Blood Hunter adventure. Which is very, very cool. But Anthony, tell me, did you do anything to prepare yourself for entering the arena?
So I used my strategic advantage here in Washington, D.C. and at the Pentagon to target where my opponents are coming with their internet. So sporadically throughout, the NSA might cut that link off and, oops, technical difficulties, winner by chance. So, but no, I'm excited to be here. Have a good time.
All right. Okay. Is everybody ready? Matt doesn't even know what the secret theme is. None of our contestants know. Up until maybe 10 minutes before the show, I did not know what the theme was, but I picked it out from the ether. So I've taken some inspiration from a sale we have happening on Dungeon Masters Guild right now, which is our Monster Menagerie Kobolds versus Goblins. And our theme is KOUS's, Kobolds of Unusual Size. Kobolds of Unusual Size. You have 15 minutes to design an encounter based off of that theme. It is 11:06 on my clock right now, so we'll give you an extra minute, 11:22, in case we're a few seconds past the minute. 11:22, and then we will call time. Go ahead and design. Dash away.
Look.
Here we go.
Yeah. So chat, remember to be thinking about what we want in our rubric. I see some folks are getting the reference. Yes, bonus points to you. Oh, is that Lucy has something to say about Kobolds of Unusual Size. So Matt, what do you think you would do if you got this theme?
It would definitely be a brawl against like an actual arena. Put the PCs in. Either they got captured and they have to fight against magically enhanced kobolds, or taking a idea from you to have the kobolds versus the PCs baking something.
Oh
so
my gosh!
They'd be on a game show.
Yes, just human-sized kobolds, or like extra jumbo kobolds.
A whole variety of them, because wild magic, and have one that's like hill giant size, and no explanation for how they got there.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, Wild Rome's mage.
Hill giant size kobold just stomps into the baking arena.
Wild magic in an arena sounds just super fun. I see in chat Wild Rose Mage has called it Kobold Kitchen. We've got a few other suggestions in chat, actually. Frank the Step says a winged kobold, but with a complex because of its really tiny wings. Cute. I like it. Ooh, Romance Writer Gal says a sandworm kobold like in Dune. Nice. That's awesome.
Up to something or other. Dragonborn raised by a loving family of kobolds. I like that.
Oh my gosh. Rosalind says a KOUS, so a couscous cook-off.
These are great.
TK has joined the fray, says Tarrasque-bald. Yes to Tarrasque-bald. I'm not sure how to... Dilly Gaff RN says, just shrink the party so the kobolds are huge. That's fantastic. Wow. I can't wait to see what our contestants do with this theme, because chat, I don't know what the rubric is, but you all just got all the points. Let me scroll through here. Is anyone actually talking about what rubric we're going to use while grading? Wild Rose Mage, replying to Justice Armin, says perhaps the cutest kobold also receives a bonus point. I love points for cute.
Yeah, me too.
P Cater says, I just assume a KOUS is a dragon. You know what? They probably assume that too. That's what they would like to think. Oh, Leah Day wants to get a rundown of a regular kobold. So Matt, do you want to explain what a kobold is for those who just have no idea?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, kobolds are these small draconic creatures, or yeah, I think technically small little guys. You face them a lot when you're a beginning adventurer. Kind of akin to goblins in that way, and most of the time they are minions to some sort of dragon, often a dragon queen. They will serve. In some artwork of them, they almost kind of look dog-like, so imagine like a little humanoid dragon dog type creature. And personality-wise, I would say they're probably most known for being like kind of tricksy, like they like setting traps and that sort of thing.
They do a lot of pack fighting, so you're usually facing off against a number of them at the same time. So they appear in my games a lot early on, and but I also try and subvert expectations. So maybe they're not attacking, maybe they're doing something else instead.
Yeah, I really like in one of the Tales of the Yawning Portal adventures, one of the old adventures, I think, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. Someone help me. It's the one where you go into a mountain and there's 3 like legendary items that you're searching for. I know someone in chat will get it, but I believe in that adventure that there is a little kobold that everybody meets, and I love making that kobold very sympathetic, like he's caring for a dragon egg or a rimeling or something.
Nice.
Justice Armin says, what about teeny tiny kobolds, like pocket kobolds? So an unusual size in the other direction, or like even more extreme. That's a really good idea. Justice says rubric bonus points for Spurt references. Spurt is a kobold that Chris Perkins played in Critical Role, who lasted minutes, seconds before he was immediately killed. Immortalized in Idle Champions, a fun digital game for D&D. Yes, Justice, thank you. White Plume Mountain. That was the adventure I was thinking of that had a sweet little kobold in it. Ooh, Leah, a swarm of spider-sized fire-breathing kobolds. Yes, and others in chat have remembered, in fact, the name of the kobold I'm talking about, and that is Meepo, which makes me think that others have made Meepo very sympathetic and lovely as well. Dr. Petrichor is taking my rubric question seriously. Thank you. Could be A, use of kobold characteristics. So maybe like mentioning their pack tactics or doing something interesting with that. A variety of change to the kobold standard recipe is their second suggestion. And C, the unusual factor in KOUS. Yes,
Yeah,
playing
that's a
off
good
of
one.
unusual. Yeah. I like that.
How many different types of kobolds, or how big or small they are, could be interesting.
Ooh, yeah. So not just one type of KOUS.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So I'm writing this down because this is a serious show for serious people. So number of types of KOUS. I love the suggestion of how unusual. And I forget what it was last episode, but we usually have a really interesting rubric. It's not just on a scale of 1 to 10. So do we want to grade the KOUSs on a scale of 1 to 5 ROUSs, rats of unusual size? What does the chat think? Ooh, someone says the number of times the letter K is used. I wonder if there's an easy way to do that, like a search for the letter K. Oh my goodness. My cat is like rotating my screen right now. Please stop. All right, but I think we should take a peek at everybody's designs. And I already see that Willy, if you tuned in last time, he was tricksy and hid his design from us. Something weird is going on with his document. So we're going to start with Anthony. And let's see. I'm going to hide the theme. I'm going to make this available. And all right, I'm looking at Anthony's design. He's written the theme at the top there, Kobolds of Unusual Size. Whoa. And sometimes we see contestants write notes, a little mini outline or bullet points that they want to hit. It looks like Anthony leapt right into descriptive text. So sort of kind of maybe had like an initial idea and is just running with it. I'm really curious to ask Anthony how this compares to his usual design style or process.
Yeah, I don't know if I could just dive in. I think I would have to at least have a really basic outline to start with. Otherwise, I would just go off and write a whole bunch of fiction and not complete or even attempt to complete
Oh, goodness. Yeah, people in chat are also impressed. Wild Rose Mage says, whoa, actual paragraphs, very cinematic. Justice says, Anthony is the fastest writer I have ever seen. He's like a printing press. I'm also impressed. I'm also cannot wait to hear more about this a little bit disturbing character coughing up blood and screaming, the ants are in my throat. Don't know what that is about, and I almost kind of don't want to spoil it. So I'm going to jump over to Mackenzie's design. All right. Ooh, this one has a name for the encounter at the top. Nice. It's a little bit small on my screen now, so I don't know if folks watching can read it. So we'll make the font larger when we review at the end. But I'll read a few things out loud. We've got misspelled menagerie. And misspelled is also spelled in an unusual... Maybe that would get you in an unusual point. Way, where it's MISS-spelled. And I see the next words are a young upstart wizard. So there might be some wild magic things happening.
Nice.
Kind of had similar ideas to you, Matt.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. There's like actual like headers and organization to this encounter. I'm impressed with that. Looks like Makenzie started with figuring out what characters they had in their head. So I'm curious whether that's a big part of her process, kind of figuring out NPCs and personalities that are part of a story.
Yeah, I usually start with the NPCs myself, so I'm really curious to hear more about these characters.
I see Wild Rose Mage asking if I can zoom in a little. Unfortunately, I am at maximum zoom, and I don't want to disrupt. I think Mackenzie's spying on us, but there you go. She's made it larger, so hopefully folks can read a little bit of this beginning detail here. I'm very excited to meet Winifred and Og. I love one-syllable silly names. So that is super fun. All right. Do we feel ready to jump into Willy's design? Because I'm going to click on it, and you already see there's some sort of shenanigan. I don't know what's happening here, why there's a background color. I'm going to scroll down. I know Willy knows that he can't get away with the same trick. Oh, wait. Did he...
Just scroll down.
Okay. All right. Okay. Skipped 2 pages. I was like, did he make it gray and then also the text is gray? Like I'm going to have to highlight to see it. I am... Okay. Unusual kobold size. Hungry boys. What happens when a kobold group gets too successful? Ooh, so kind of starting with a concept, a question. I love that. The adventurers arrive at a poor town. Everyone is hungry. So maybe the kobolds have just taken too much from the town. I'm very intrigued by this idea.
I see kobold with hill giant stats, so yeah.
Oh!
There we go.
Yeah.
I like where this is going.
His name is Colby Jack. Mm. Yeah. So that's very interesting. Willy's writing style is a little bit different in sort of this first draft phase, more of sort of like stream of consciousness notes, it looks like. So all three of our designers have really distinct ways that they've tackled this challenge. Folks in chat like the premise so far. Awesome. So have we figured out what our rubric is? I've got number of types of KOUSs. How unusual. Let's pick one more thing. Let's see.
Well, now we've taken a peek at the documents, so I think chat needs to help us out with that, because we might be a little biased.
Justice Armin in chat, who is a previous contestant, says Design Dash was somehow more stressful than standardized testing for me.
That's a benefit for us because we get to see how people react under pressure.
Oh, goodness.
All right, chat. So we need one more fun rubric to...
Ooh, I like where Wild Rose Mage is going. They say points for friendliest kobold and scariest kobold.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah. The different personality types.
Yeah. Like you're maybe not being rated on a scale, but you can like earn special points.
Love it.
Friendliest kobold, scariest kobold. Ooh, our points for the size of the kobold. The bigger the kobold, the higher the score. Ooh, it is 1121, and I think I told them 1122. It's 1122.
Yep.
All right, let's go over to our chat and call time. All right, folks still look like they're typing away. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to... Oh, Willy caught himself. I can't tell if Mackenzie's still working or not. Oh, no, you don't get to put up the...
I was just changing the font size.
Oh, okay.
I was just changing the font size. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right. I think everybody is out of the arena. And how was that? Was it everything you expected and more?
So awesome.
Why do I feel like I ran like 7 miles?
For real. Okay. So I'll let you all know the rubric, the chat. Matt and I came together with, put together during that design time. The first is number of types of KOUSs. So I imagine everyone will have at least one KOUS, but will someone have more? I don't know. Another is on a scale of 1 to 5, and I don't think anyone in chat suggested something, so I'm running with my suggestion. On a scale of 1 to 5 ROUSs, how unusual was your KOUS? And then you can earn points for having the friendliest kobold in your adventure, or having the scariest kobold in your adventure. So let's dive in to some of these designs. We're going to start with Willy. I've got it highlighted still. I'm going to unhighlight it.
There we go.
Oh, you hid it. I didn't see it when I scrolled past the first time, but the Kuatoa is still there. It's
No peek.
Oh my goodness. Let's just go on to the design. I don't know how to even react to that.
Kuatoa of regular size.
Kuatoa of regular size for this unusual kobold size Hungry Boys encounter. Walk us through, Willy.
Okay. So I kind of fumbled with this one, but I'm actually kind of excited the more I play through it and want to work through this adventure later. So I've got a good base here for that. But for now, what you get is thinking about more or less what happens when a kobold group gets too successful. Usually what ends up happening is that kobolds tend to pass on very quickly, a lot, usually not by their own accord. Mm-hmm. So if they're allowed to continue to grow and to prosper, well, then they can probably become very horrifying, if you will. So let's just say that our adventurers are arriving at a very poor town. We'll call it Po Town for now. and they realize that everyone here is hungry. It's destitute. There isn't that many like supplies. Even the tavern barely has anything left like on tap. So, you know, the adventurers aren't going to be very happy about that. But apparently, everyone who arrives at this town has been waylaid by robbers, and they can't really do any trade or get any supplies in. In fact, the adventurers are some of the first ones to arrive in a very long time. I say years. That seems a little extreme, but we'll go with years. Sure, they're really hungry. So generally, you are asked by the mayor to secure their last chance at new supplies, because there is another town a day away that they've been trying to get like emergency rations from for a long time, but like they keep on getting waylaid by these mysterious robbers. So it's like, all right, let's start heading down the road over to this town. And this is sort of like an investigation sort of period. I wrote down DC 12. Generally, there isn't much hiding of the evidence that, hey, people are getting taken down here. Scraps are left here and there. There isn't that much wildlife in the area. You can see broken down wagons, bones, and what have you. But you also notice sort of craters and footprints that kind of been wiped away, so you don't really know where they lead to unless you end up with like a DC 20 or something like that, and you're able to really keep this adventure moving forward. But let's just say that they end up going to the next town over. Well, instead of Po Town, we'll call this Next Town. Sure, that's great. I like that name. And they're already ready to try to get some more supplies in to Po Town. So you start hanging out with the wagon, and you immediately come across a kobold robber. His name is Colby Jack, and he is the size of a hill giant, which is very alarming. So basically, we're looking at hill giant stat blocks plus sunlight sensitivity and maybe a dagger, but I don't know. They're not going to use a dagger. They'll probably end up using a boulder or a tree, thinking about it.
Now, is this size of a hill giant in height or in rotundness?
Both.
Okay.
They are the size of a hill giant. Like, take a hill giant and skin them like a dragon.
Oh, wait. Okay, yeah.
I like it.
Why did I say the wagon can't be destroyed? That's weird. Okay, I guess I was just writing. Yeah, stream of consciousness is very dangerous in this sort of thing, but that's fine. But generally, you have to take on this Colby Jack, or you can try to say hello and do some diplomacy with Colby Jack. He will listen to you and is capable of rational thought, which is nice. But generally, whichever route you take, you have to find out what's going on along the road, because the further you go along past Colby Jack, you'll end up fighting against 2 giant kobolds, and then another 2 giant kobolds, because an encounter with 4 kobolds is way too much. Not kobolds in this case, hill giants, beside the point. Mm-hmm. But generally what you're finding out is that they've been living near a magical rock for over a century that heals wounds and allows them to grow and grow without stopping. So they've all been growing bigger and smarter over the years. So instead of failing at trying to steal scraps, they've been succeeding at stealing scraps and generally building out their own community. But the balance of the area is off puts. So generally we have to go near some kobold. Are you highlighting like my...
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I just want to make sure anyone who's watching and not just listening to the stream gets to appreciate stuff like Cowboy and Co-Bushes just dropped into this.
That's later.
Yeah.
Generally, I didn't figure out how you end up finding this cave, but if you have Colby Jack helping you out, he'll be able to lead you right over to their cave. It's a mega-size kobold hideout, so generally the traps that are in there for normal-sized adventurers, I mean, they can kind of slip right through. So you picture a giant net, but then you kind of just whoosh right through it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, everything's super big in scale, but that's fine. Generally, it's really open how you can solve this scenario. You can try destroying their rock. The rock has an AC of 15, has 50 HP, and it recovers 10 HP per round, but they're also being protected by a bunch of giant kobolds. So, you know, that would be pretty devastating. You don't want to take away their kobolder. They've been living with it for so long. That's all they know. Mm-hmm. But leaving things as is would also be devastating for the town that you just came from. And also fighting a bunch of hill giant kobolds could also be devastating.
There are no good choices.
There are no good choices, so I leave it up to the adventurers to figure it out. Generally, I have a guide for any charisma checks that you try to make along these kobold people, not kids. I was going to say kobold kids, but kobold crushers. Sure, we'll go with that. The DC is set to 18 or 15 if it's intimidation, because kobolds still have a bit of that meek cowardliness to them. But if you end up doing like a nice peaceful route, like you achieve diplomacy, they will give you a piece of their rock. And I've dubbed it the Kobolder Pebble. And that recovers 5 HP per round and just requires it.
Nice. I like that you've presented, well, first of all, you have a really interesting premise of like, well, what happens if kobolds are successful? What would the ramifications of that be? And I love that you kind of leave it as a really open-ended scenario. There's no like set path the adventurers have to follow to complete the adventure. You've considered some of those paths, like reaching a diplomatic end and getting a kobolder pebble. But you're not railroading folks. It really is sort of this kobold sandbox.
Yeah, generally. There's no good way this could possibly end, but...
So if you had a little more time, would you focus on fleshing out the 2 towns or adding other encounters?
Let's see. So generally, I would make sure that there is a specific location for the kobold hideout, for one. Right now, it's kind of nebulous in this sort of write-up. 2, my general style for DMing is a lot more NPC focused, so I would make sure that I'm writing in a little bit more than just Colby Jack into this. Sure. Maybe you'll have someone to actually talk to, like a proper mayor that isn't just what you pictured was a mayor, and I know it was, I am the mayor, and so on and so forth, but... yeah, it would be little details like that that kind of ground the players into the world.
Nice. So you mentioned some differences of this compared to your usual design. Like usually you have more of a focus on NPCs. Mm-hmm. How does this speak to what your usual process is, if it does at all?
I can't really say that it's... So, I mean, it's very similar to how I normally come about things. Like, it's all still very stream of consciousness, except probably not as rapid. So, of course, you're kind of skipping a few steps in between. But generally, I do approach it from, okay, here's this person I want the adventurers to interact with. Here's how they act. Here's what they want. And then from there, I build the world around them. And generally, that's worked out pretty well so far.
Yeah. Did you, when you were presented with a theme, what were the first things that went through your head? Did you have other potential ways you were going to interpret the challenge?
Let's see. I was still stunned by the possibility of working with kobolds because I really, really love kobolds. That I wasn't really able to think of anything else except, big chunky boys. So it kind of railroaded my own thought process there. And I knew that.
Yeah. I mean, often folks say when they've come on the dash, you get one idea, just run with it. Just go. Don't overthink it. So you did that. Yeah. Matt, did you have any other questions for Will or chat? I forgot. Well, as we're chatting with folks, definitely if you have questions, put question in all caps to make sure I see it, but throw those questions in chat and we'll ask the designers for you.
Wild Rose Mage says definitely a contender for scariest kobold.
Yes, potential scariest kobold, but also they still act a little cowardly, which I find adorable. Like a humongous kobold. I also just imagine that they're like chunky boys, but they still have their tiny like arms and stuff. And they're like, oh.
If I'm running this, I'm presenting the townsfolk are saying, yeah, we've got this kobold problem that's giving us all kinds of trouble, and not telling the PCs that they're huge. So the PCs are like, yeah, we're gonna stop in there and just, and
I like
they're
that.
That was really fun. All right, Willy, thank you for sharing your big chonky kobolds with us. We're going to move along to Makenzie.
Oh, hi. So I had a little bit of a problem when I started this. I didn't know what a kobold was.
Oh no!
I have like the vaguest concept of what a kobold is.
Oh
so
my goodness.
I instead leaned towards the unusual size requirement
Okay.
and just kind of played around with wild magic.
All right. Very cool.
I have only played I've played D&D for about a year, but I've never played I've never encountered a kobold. I've never used a kobold. I don't know what a kobold really is.
You poor thing. Was the person in chat who was like, please explain what kobolds are, a plant?
No.
your alt account?
I was listening to the chatter in the background because I usually write with music. And so I had to keep the headphones on and I was just listening to Zoom chat. And then when you're talking about a kobold, I was like, oh, that's what a kobold is? Oh, shoot.
Oh, thank God.
Shoot. Oh, God. Ah. So I ended up going off the idea of like there's wild magic or something is making things not the way they should be. I knew going into it that I didn't want to do something that I didn't want to play into the idea that like all kobolds are bad or all kobolds are evil. I definitely did. I knew that was out of my very limited knowledge of kobolds. I didn't want to make the kobolds themselves the opposing force because I don't like writing encounters that deal with things like that where it characterizes the entire group as bad. So that was definitely off the table. And I knew that I wanted some wild magic, and I've been doing a little bit of prep for a Feywild campaign, and something really interesting is the idea of the Feywild messing with your magic so that it goes off, but it goes off like one letter off. So that's how we got this thing.
Okay.
So, essentially, I thought the idea that there's a partnership between this young upstart wizard sorcerer person. I changed the pronouns halfway through, whoops. And they live in this village that has a mutual beneficial relationship with the kobolds that live in this mine. And so the kobolds mine like a bunch of magic ore and send it off to the village, and then the village themselves protect the kobolds from like a dragon that still wants their allegiance. Okay. So unfortunately, as they're mining, they break through the ground and there's a bunch of like wild magic starts leaking out. And that causes a lot of bad things, including making the kobolds chonky or really small and just generally causing an entire chaos. So I started out with, I'm really sorry for the font sizes. I automatically go to my headers in Google Docs and I forgot I hadn't changed the font sizes before.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
So I figured like the main characters would be Winifred, who's the sorcerer who's a wild magic sorcerer, and when you mix wild magic with wild magic, it gets worse.
Oh no.
So, it's bad. And then there's Og, and they're the leader of the kobolds. I explain like kind of the relationship between the kobolds and the village, like in this area. Now that the kobolds have been driven from the cavern due to the magic sort of poofing, both the town and the kobolds are having issues adjusting to the kobolds living among them, and just it's general chaos. And also a wayward smell made Og really heckin' big chonker. Oh Lord, they coming.
Oh my goodness. I love that so far we're 2 for 2 on chonky kobolds.
It's a delight.
Big chonky kobolds. So the adventure starts off with the adventurers just sort of entering this village. It's pretty normal except for the fact that there's just so many kobolds. There's mini kobolds, there's big kobolds, there's the big kobold that's Og, like the size of an elephant, real big. Winifred's riding on Og when they first encounter them, and you can overhear like snippets of their conversation, or you can talk to them directly depending on like your either if you want to do a perception or a charisma check, depending on how you want to engage with them. This way you learn like the mine, there's a magic mine nearby that's off the rails. Og is stuck in big mode, and then Winnie is trying to fix her spells, but they might need to hire outside help because her magic has just been completely affected by the infection of the mine, or like just the wayward ley lines of the mine. So that results in them, the adventurers being recruited to go investigate. Beacon and Nope was the title of Act 2, because I was like, how could I misspell spells?
Oh my goodness. I love that.
So
Awesome.
the entirety of Act 2 is essentially it's essentially a random roll table that is a bunch of different rooms that have various either wild magic or misspelled spells going around.
Vampiric couch.
Yeah. There's Cos Bear. It's a bear. There's Phantasmal Farce. There's Vampiric Couch, which is a mimic, but worse. And then just kobolds. There's just a lot of options on the table for kobolds. There are mini kobolds that swarm you. There's giant kobolds that are blocking the entrance Winnie the Pooh style, where they're just stuck. It's a mess. There's also probably, if I had more time, I'd add like some things where if you try to cast a spell in this area, more bad stuff happens. But I was just really giggling on Cos Bear and Vampire Couch, and I was like, I'm putting them in here.
That is some of the most amazing things I've seen on Dash in 7 episodes. Vampiric Couch, I love it. Also Fireball, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you in Act 3.
So, the last room was like eventually I think it'd probably be like after going through 3 or 4 random roll tables, it basically would determine like how many rooms do you want to throw at your players as a DM. So then they find the core magic fissure, and it's guarded by a fireball, which is a fireball but warped. I'd have to make a stat block for that. And then defeat the fireball, and then you'd have to close the fissure, probably using like dispel magic or something planary. And then if you look through the fissure, there's probably you're looking into like primordial chaos of like, you know, like raw magic itself, which I don't know, that probably has some consequences.
Yeah, some sort of save is required for that.
I ran out of time, so you just gotta knit together, mend the rip in time and space, and hope everything is better. And that's all I got.
This is so charming and fun. I love the misspelled spells, and I almost wonder if it would be fun for the adventurers, if for all the normal rooms, not the fireball, like the final room, but for all like the little rooms, if like they can diffuse it by figuring out what the actual spell is based off what's in the room. I feel like that'd be a really fun mini game. Trying to reverse the misspelling or the pun, like a puzzle.
It's not counter spelling. It's just spelling correctly.
Oh my god!
It's autocorrect.
Spelling.
It's spell check.
Yeah.
It's spell check.
Yes. Oh my
That's great.
goodness. So aside from your first thought being what is a kobold, did you have any other ideas running through your head as you were starting this, or were you like wild magic, bam, go?
I kind of I just essentially panicked and went, I don't know what a kobold is, but we're gonna go bye. And then I just went with it because I was like, I don't have time, and I had a timer on like every 5 minutes, just like clicking it to keep track. And I think I got through like part 1, and it was already like halfway through, and I was like, oh shoot, I need to figure stuff out. Okay, pulls up the Indie Beyond spell list, keeps scrolling, changes 1 letter in all of them. Look, that's funny. Fine, that's fine. It was very panicked, and my brain was going like 10 miles a minute, but we were trying.
Yeah. So you had talked about what you were expecting of your style to sort of come through. Now looking back,
entirely what I was expecting.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think the oh lord, they come in big chonker. It's a couch but worse is all kind of what my notes look like beforehand.
I like how it's a couch but worse implies that couches are like pretty bad to begin with.
Was it a couch or it's a mimic but worse or something along the lines of it's this but worse, and it's I'll fill in the worst part later with like mechanics, but right now just know that it's a couch but worse.
It'll be pulled out halfway.
So what spells did you want to include but you didn't get a chance to?
I think all the ones that I did not actually get to include Beacon of Nope. I really wanted to include a Beacon of I had the idea for it, but I didn't know how to mechanically make a Beacon of Nope.
Sure.
Alternatively, it was going to be Bacon of Hope.
Ooh.
Which I also don't know how that would be an obstacle.
True.
But, those were the main ones that like got me giggling real hard, but I didn't know how to put them in. So that would be something I'd want to do. Just like the idea of like having a room where it's like it has a Beacon of Nope on it, so you just nope and you don't want to enter it. Like no matter how hard you try, you just nope away.
I feel like every single one of these misspelled spells is a Design Dash challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, that was really lovely and definitely a laugh. I forgot about our rubric. I feel like, I don't know, chat, do you think these multi-sized kobolds, they're all under the same effect, but they're affected in different ways? So is that one type of KOUS? Or we've got at least 3 KOUSs, if you count the different sizes differently. I also feel like this is high on the unusual scale. I don't know how you feel, Matt.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's at least a 4, potentially a 5 unusual.
Yeah, because you've got the elephant-sized, and then you've got the Winnie the Pooh-sized.
It's a very wacky
Yeah.
scenario you're walking into. And it sounds like all of these kobolds are friendly, so I think this is a contender for friendliest kobold.
Yeah, definitely, especially Og.
Yeah, Og seems like a sweetheart.
He's got Winifred riding around.
True.
On top.
Yeah. I like that they've just kind of got like a nice little setup with the village and they work together. They're just neighboring communities, which is lovely. Well, thank you very much, Makenzie, for all of that. We are going to move along to our final contestant, Anthony.
All
Let's
right.
go back up to the top.
I'm going to kind of do mine in like a narrative way, and then I'll kind of explain it along the way.
All right.
So pretend that you're the character for a moment playing at a table, and I'm the DM. Deep within the weeping forest, you are brought to a small cottage. You've been summoned by a powerful cleric to visit the Steel Logger family, a family of forest gnomes who've invented steel contraptions to cut down trees in the forest. Upon arrival, you're greeted by Lismon, the matriarch of the family. Her eldest son has become extremely sick, and nearby clergy has no idea how to cure her son. Lismon brings you inside her small cottage, and inside you see her son Randall, a small gnome, coughing on her bed. And so here is the first time that characters can kind of like interact with the scene and determine what's wrong with this small gnome child, Randall.
I will already do anything for Randall.
So Randall's, coughing on the bed, kind of like in and out. If you do a medicine check here, you're going to find out that he's suffering some type of respiratory illness of some kind. And when you approach him, Randall steps up. He kind of like springs up in his bed. He grabs at his throat. The ants are in my throat. And he begins to kind of like scream and holler. And his mother starts to cry and beg, and he goes unconscious. He's fainted.
Oh, no.
From the experience. And so the mother's asking you, please help my son, please. And so if you are able to inspect Randall under the bed while you're next to him, and you succeed on a perception check, DC 13, you're going to notice a bunch of ants like crawling on his bed, making their way to his mouth. A closer inspection to really see what these creatures are, they look like ants, reveals that if you do a DC 13 intelligence nature check and succeed, you find out that these are not ants, but they're kobolds of unusual size. They're the size of ants. And when the kobolds see you, they see these massive eyes looking at them. They start to scream, "Alarm! Alarm! Into the fortress of Randall!"
Into the fortress of Randall.
They start to run into his open mouth, and you have several options here before you bring in the 3 pillars of adventure. So the first option is obviously combat. So you can try to like smash the kobolds with your hands because you don't want to use swords. You're going to cut poor Randall or shoot fireballs at him. So you can try to smack them. The kobolds have a AC of 10, and they each have a hit point, and you can smash 1d4 kobolds at a time. So you can try to get all the kobolds. The second one is exploration. So if you take a moment and you look around the house, the cottage, there's this potion there that happens to be a potion of reduced size. Now it's a special potion because it makes you the size of like an ant. So you can shrink yourself and you could go try to find the kobolds in the mouth of Randall. And you find, if you go exploring, you find their fortress. They've built it in his esophagus.
Oh my gosh.
There you can try to destroy the kobold fortress. You can tickle Randall's uvula. And if you tickle it, he'll start to cough, like when you're getting phlegm out, and he'll start to swallow and have a kind of a conniption fit, and then the fortress will collapse into his stomach, and Randall will eat all the kobolds. Yummy, yummy.
Oh no!
The third option is social. So you can try to convince the kobolds to leave Randall's throat by parlaying with their kobold queen, Esmira. Esmira is a very wise, noble queen. And if you convince her with a DC 15 charisma persuasion check, you offer them a suitable alternative home, they'll leave the fortress of his mouth and they'll go to where you've offered them. Now, if you fail to act and some of the characters might freeze, don't know what to do, the kobolds have a group of kobold scientists that will actually, they've been trying to figure out how to make it into Randall's brain, and they've made this breakthrough discovery. They can control his body. So if you don't do anything, they'll control him as like a mannequin, and they'll begin to leave the house with their fortress in his throat, with the body as like a mobile vessel.
Oh my gosh.
Their only goal is to find a home that keeps them safe. You know, the steel cutters, the contraptions they made, these gnomes, they accidentally cut down the forest a little bit, and they cut down these kobolds' homes so they don't have anywhere to go. So they kind of went and infested Randall, not because they're evil, because they have somewhere, they need shelter for their baby kobolds and things like that. So that's where we're at.
Wow.
Anthony. Like, I kept being surprised by this. So we spied on all of the designs and chatted about them, and I saw the ants thing, but I wanted to save it as a surprise, and my brain didn't make the connection that the ants were the kobolds.
I picked up on it immediately.
I saw your look of joy, Willy. You were like, yes.
We definitely have the smallest kobolds in this.
Yeah, I love that you went in the opposite direction. Like, kobolds are already tiny, make them even tinier. Super extreme. And this whole thing is this weird combination of, like, kind of, like, adorable and sweet because they're tiny kobolds, but really dark and messed up because they're, like, in this poor kid's body and they're taking over his brain, but it is still morally gray because they're just trying their best. Which I feel like any of all the things I've heard about your design style, that seems pretty on point.
Yeah, I
they
totally,
just need a home.
Yeah, I don't like to have black and white dilemmas. It's always gray, and I think it could go one way or the other. Justifiably.
Yeah, so I know when we took a look at your design, you'd like leapt right into writing out some narrative as you read for all of us. When you got the challenge, what was going through your head? Did you outline in your head what you wanted to happen? What was your process?
No, so my design process, I never have notes. I never have an outline. I just literally set to write. And the story takes me on an adventure. And that's how it goes. It was just kind of like how you saw just the coming out. That's kind of how I do it with my normal stuff.
All right.
So did you come up with the shrinking potion, or did you already decide that they were going to be tiny and then created a way to make that happen?
Yeah, so I knew the kobolds, when I made the decision that the kobolds are small, I wanted a social exploration pillar. I said, well, I need to shrink the characters. How do I do that? And the easiest option to me was make a potion nearby. You know, I could have had a mage show up or something, but I figured just a potion they could easily down and shrink.
Gotcha.
Like this is so dark. Like, what do you do if they take over Randall? I'm still a little bit stunned. Do you have any more questions, Matt? Chat. Do you have questions other than how? Why?
Why, God? Why? No, why?
That was me the whole time. I also really liked alarm, alarm into the fortress of Randall. Like, they know it has that Randall has a name. It is a person. Well, okay, so you mentioned that there are a lot of similarities to your usual design style. And I know Justice had to step out, but before he mentioned that you're a really fast writer, and I know you two have collaborated on projects and stuff before. Yeah, was there anything different about this since it was a 15-minute challenge, or was this cake for you?
This, again, is kind of the normal, when I get into the mode, I'll sit down and I'll kind of do like this speed writing. And then having someone like Justice on a team, he's very methodical, so he'll go and he'll start to refine and sculpt the text. So it's a good team effort. But that's kind of what I do. I do really fast, really, strong story narrative piece, and then I'll take a breather after, and I'll go back and refine that sculpture, so to speak.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so if you were going back and refining this draft, what are changes you would want to make or things you'd want to expand on?
I would figure out, I think I maybe would have made the illness a little bit more ambiguous, or tied it with there's some ants nearby. Maybe they would have seen some ants trailing into the house. I would have been more neat in how I allowed the shrinking to happen. I think the potion is a little bit too convenient. I would have had to narratively fix that. And at the end, I would have maybe explained a little bit more the backstory of the kobolds. Where was their house before? Why were they small? Like leaving that vague also gives the DM the opportunity to make that story hook however they want.
Yeah. That's very fun. And you've mentioned real, actual ants. And now my mind is thinking about, well, what is the dynamic between ants and these ant-sized kobolds? Are they bitter enemies? Are the ants intelligent? Do the kobolds use them as mounts? Like they're all tiny ant-men? I don't know. Very fun. Lots of questions.
Yeah, I'd want to know a little bit more about the fortress and the queen and how that, like, why did they decide Randall was a good house?
The appropriate amount of moisture.
Very, very good for the scales, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they were scouting a bunch of other people, so folks have gotten sick, but Randall seems to have gotten the sickest.
Or there could be half the village could be in
Oh my god! Oh, ew!
Oh.
I don't know why it's like grosser now if there's like kobolds and everybody.
Yeah, maybe they're all controlled by the kobolds. So, oh my God.
Like some people are acting kind of weird.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, goodness. So I'm thinking to our rubric, the one type of KOUS here. I'm feeling like this is pretty unusual, but like in a more dark way, less of like a zany wild magic sort of way. I'd maybe give this a 4 unusual. What do you think, Matt?
Oh yeah, and then on the scary.
Oh yeah, these are the scariest kobolds to me. I feel kobolds all over me now. Goodness. Okay. That was super fun and disturbing, Anthony. Thank you. But viewers, only one of our lovely contestants can return next month. So right after the show, I'm going to go on Twitter and I'm going to make a poll so you can vote for Willy or Makenzie or Anthony to return and face 2 new challengers in the arena for episode 8 of DM's Guild Design Dash. And before we say goodbye, I'll give everyone a chance to... Lucy, please. We'll give everyone a chance to remind you who they are. Willy, we'll let you do some outros first.
Sure thing. I'm Willy, or the Willy Boo, mostly on Twitter. I make a lot of junk posts online. I like to make stuff on DM's Guild, and tonight you'll see me on Tales from the Mists along with Lysa.
Ooh, yeah, for more spooky, disturbing times. But no kobold ants, please, TK, my dungeon master, in the chat. Makenzie.
Yes, you can find me over on Makenzie Lane Day on Twitter. I do a bunch of stuff over on the Straticus Academy streaming channel. And I have a bunch of stuff that's up on DM's Guild and on D&D Beyond, and yeah, that's pretty much it. My tweet style is almost exactly like what you saw in the encounter today, so that's fine.
Wonderful. And Anthony.
So you can mainly find me on Twitter at Thrawn589. I do a lot of tweets on design and D&D stuff. So it's purely like D&D there. I just have 2 new products out this week. Check them out. The Blood Hunter. It's a one-on-one adventure, and then the Heir of Orcus Verse 4, a lot of Cthulhu, weird Lovecraftian type of stuff, and that's for Adventures League, legal there.
Wonderful. If you're looking for some more disturbing times. My co-host has been Matt.
Hi, I'm MMM666 on Twitter. I talk about games a whole lot and environmentalism from time to time. I'm bounce around all of the different drive-through and DM's Guild related sites, so I talk a lot about different stuff we're doing with different publishers.
Awesome. And I have been Lysa Penrose, your brand manager at Dungeon Masters Guild, social media manager at D&D, and I also host a lovely podcast called Behold Her Podcast, all about femme gamers in the TTRPG space. So check it out. Makenzie is actually in the latest episode talking about D&D and love languages. You can follow me at Lysa Penrose. I talk a bunch about Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're listening to this live, stick around because Dragon Talk is up next. Greg is at the New York Toy Fair, so you've got Shelley with special guest co-host Kate Welch, which I think with Greg's away, Shelley will play. So stick around. It should be a really fun interview episode. And until the next dash, we'll see you all then. Bye.
Bye.